is the ability to withhold yourself, to recognize that you might be short-tempered when it comes to dealing with some certain kind of people that has some attitude towards work. Okay. And then let me just say this in passing. Okay. Sometimes I see people who work in organizations, and I follow them online, especially some persons who are close to me, and I watch their status. And then on Friday, someone comes and posts Friday morning, say, I can't wait for today to be over. Weekend things loading. You know, as personal as that might sound to them, but for you as a leader in that organization, seeing that your staff are very excited to leave work, you know, for the weekend, or someone would post on Sunday night and say, this weekend was too short to Monday again. How do we survive this? Sometimes those can actually be triggers, especially when you know that these persons might be underperforming staff at the office. Okay. So now emotional intelligence is knowing when to allow some of these things go. Okay. It's knowing how to arrange and rearrange your internal atmosphere. Okay, just as we have the external, we also have the internal atmosphere. So emotional intelligence is regulating what happens within you, managing your emotions, knowing when to avoid anything that makes you flip or switch. Okay, and then let's also turn the table around. You are a staff in an organization where your leader might not really be the best in communicating ideas. Okay, they might struggle with communicating concepts and ideas, and they communicate, maybe they communicate vaguely. Okay, and in you trying, like in your efforts to try to get some clarity, and maybe they get angry, they get vocal, and then they get vulgar. Okay, they get vulgar with you with words and all that. You know, that might actually be a trigger for you. Okay, that might set you in a wrong place. But then emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and to recognize what gets you either in the mood or out of the mood. Okay, so I would just say this. Because I've been using more of negative triggers. Yes, because that is what we face most of the time. So positive triggers also. Emotional intelligence is also knowing how to get yourself to perform, how to get yourself in the mood. Sometimes you might be physically exhausted. For me personally, I work a lot. Okay, I have a lot of work to do. So most times I might be physically exhausted. All right. And I might not really be in that place where I am prepared to do the kind of work I have on my table. But the moment I know how to switch myself on, and how do I do that for me particularly when I'm physically exhausted? How do I become mentally resourceful, or how do I get into that climb where I become mentally resourceful? How I switch myself on is I remember the end result. What is the result? What result will I get after this task has been excellently concluded? I live in the joy of the results of when I finish the task. Okay. I live in the joy. Like I borrow joy from the future. And I'm like, if I'm able to do XYZ, I know how easy it's going to be for me. I know how my day is going to run. I know how efficient some of the things around the office is going to be. So most times I try to trigger those things, those emotions that puts me in a very good mental and in a very good resourceful state mentally. Okay. So let's do a quick comparison between what IQ is and what EQ and IQ is. Okay. So while emotional intelligence focuses on emotional aptitude, IQ measures cognitive ability. Okay, so while emotional intelligence focuses primarily on how you interact and interface with your emotions, IQ deals with cognitive ability. How good is a person when they are interacting with data, with information. How good is someone when he's assessing a certain kind of information? Now, I will just say this in passing, okay? Most times, the most intelligent staff might not be the most emotionally intelligent staff. What do I mean by that? There are people who are very intelligent when it comes to resources, to information. They are very smart. Okay, they are very good with data. They are very good in achieving results. But if something external should happen to them, like for example, the loss of a loved one, maybe failed relationship, they might just go off. I have heard of people who resigned because they couldn't handle the death of a loved one. Now, that is poor emotional intelligence. Okay, that is poor. Now, these persons might be very intelligent. Okay, IQ. They might have high IQ, but they have low emotional intelligence. And then I'll just say this also in passing. I have been part of the HR team that hires, like hiring team. I've been part of several hiring teams, and most times there have been situations where we had to choose between two candidates with equal qualification, with equal experience, with equal results, with equal track records. But most times, what differentiates two candidates most times is usually emotional intelligence. One comes into the interviewing room and he speaks facts, tells you he's good with data, tells you all the things you need to know. He's prim and proper. While the other one comes and smiles and makes you smile and just brings in an aura. Okay, just taps into your energy, taps into your cosmos, and makes you like them. Okay, now I must say this: emotionally intelligent people are likable people. Why? Because they understand the use of empathy. So I'm going to dwell on that a little bit, but then I'm just trying to create a background. Okay, I'm just trying to create a background of what emotional intelligence is and what it is not. So please, I would like my slide. I would need help. I would need help with the slide again so we can continue. Are we following? Are we understanding?
They're following you.
Are you with me in the class?
Very
It's
well.
just
with
you,
very
or
making sense.
okay.
With you.
Okay. So while we wait for the slide, I'll just give more examples about emotional intelligence. Now, I'm sure that while I was growing, I'm going to give you guys a very personal example. While I was growing, there was a time we went to visit a family friend. So and then we were there for I think we went around noon, and then we stayed till dusk. Okay, till around evening time, around 5, 6, 7, 8. And then while we're there, we heard the blast of the horn, like the horn of a car of this family's dad. Like their dad had gone to work, and then the car blasted, boop, 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 boop. And then all the kids screamed, "Yay! Daddy's back!" Whoa! And they ran outside, and we were seeing a very interesting movie. Okay, because growing up, we loved seeing movies. Growing up, we loved seeing movies. And then, but I couldn't imagine why these folks would just leave this interesting movie and rush outside to greet their dad. Unlike me, in my house, in where I grew up, my dad is the Iron Man. Like when you hear the blast of his horn, like the horn of his car, everyone takes cover. Like everyone just, you have to adjust. If you haven't had your bath, you have to rush to the bathroom and start having your bath. If you're still on your school uniform, woo, you just have to rush and go and change up and wear your normal wear, because if it catches you with your uniform, you're dead. Okay. Now, while that stuff was going on, and then the dad of this house comes in with the children, Some he was carrying some on his shoulders, the other one on his hand, like they were just like a handful. And then they came into the house, into the parlor, and they played. He played a little bit with them. I know. And then I just sat there watching, and then I was asking myself, why can't this be? Why can't this be my dad? Why can't this be my dad? Okay, now, like I said, this is a little bit personal, but then now growing up and reminiscing on that occurrence, I understood something. Okay, I understood something. For we then, we didn't really understand my dad's personality. Okay, he was a provider. So for him, providing was it. I don't need to be your friend. I'm your dad. I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. So as long as I provide for you, you're okay. Now let's just oppose it with the emotional intelligence of the other dad. Okay. Yes, I'm your dad. I'm a provider, but I can also be your friend. I don't know if this example is making sense to us here.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
following.
Okay.
Quite interesting.
So the difference, this scenario can also be the dads here can also be managers in our different places of work. One can say, I am your boss. I don't need to be your friend. As long as we get the work done, I don't need to be your friend. The other one can say, we can be friends. We can even be family while we work together, while we win together. Okay, so it's just how well each of these persons decides to understand themselves. Because, like I would often say, you cannot give it when you don't have it. Even when you want to give it, because you don't have it, you cannot give it. So emotional intelligence is the ability to understand how you feel inside and also understand how you make other people feel. Emotional intelligence is all about knowing that it is not all about you. Okay, if you're a boss here and you come to the office and then you're all moody because something happened at home, that's not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is knowing that, yes, something may have happened at home, but I don't need to bring it to the office. It doesn't need to spiral into the office. You're a staff. Something happened at home or something happened. If you're in Lagos, you know how busy, you know how busy Lagos can be. The traffic, all the Agbero on the road, the last mile on the road, and then you get to the office, and then you're like, I've been through a lot. My boss should understand. Everybody in the office should understand. No, nobody needs to understand. Nobody went through all that with you. Okay, emotional intelligence is knowing that I went through what I went through. Nobody knows what I went through. So I must bring the energy that they expect me to bring at the office. Nobody should suffer the brunt, okay, of whatever thing I may have gone through. Okay, so if you notice, I'm trying to lean towards the other side of emotional intelligence, which is dealing with negative emotions, because it's very important. Most times we don't even know that sometimes what stands out, what makes one person promoted and the other person not promoted is just emotional intelligence. Because at the end of the day, if you're seeking for promotion, that means you'll be given higher responsibility, and with higher responsibility comes inevitably the chance of working with people. Okay, you can't be a superior and not be in connection with other people. Okay, so most times you might have been eyeing like a position at the office, and you're wondering why it's not coming. You have done everything. You've done you have all your certifications. You have the experience, and then you're wondering why is it not coming. It might not have been coming because the persons above you are afraid that you might not be able, that you don't have the emotional intelligence to excel while leading a team. Okay, so I think I've dwelt with this. So I'm just going to rush the next slide. Now I'm taking my time to explain this. So when I just run along all the slides, we won't have to spend more time. Okay, I'm trying to build a very strong foundation here. And please do well to write down your questions. It could be from the examples I've given. It could be your own personal example, but whatever it is, just make sure that you're penning down your questions. Okay. So emotional intelligence is crucial for professional success and well-being. So let's look at high emotional intelligence drives, how it drives success. Okay, so 90% of top performers possess emotional intelligence. A whopping 90% of high performance. It has been shown that they possess emotional intelligence. I don't know if you guys have been, if you guys are a fan of Elon Musk. Okay, Elon Musk, I love that guy. He is one of the revolutionary leaders when it comes to our present day world, our present day corporate world. Okay, leading several unicorns at the same time and excelling in all of them. I was listening to his interview one of the days, and then he said something very striking. He said that the ability to work with people lies within the fact that you sincerely understand that they are people and not machines. Is sincerely understanding and accepting the fact that they are people, they are humans and not machines, right? And not robots and not AI tools. Okay, right? Yes, the fact that they are paid salary does not mean that they don't have emotions. So having emotional intelligence and connecting with the core, with the emotional core of your team, or with the team you lead, or with the team, the teammates you have, is one of the tools that produces the highest productivity. So emotional intelligence enhances relationships. Okay, it enhances relationships. Okay, whether you're talking about relationship upwards or relationship sideways, horizontal relationship, or you're talking about relationship downwards. Okay, if you're emotional intelligent, it enhances your relationship. And of course, as we all know, that if you want to play in the big leagues, if you want to swim with the sharks, you don't become a shark to swim with the shark. You are introduced into the league of sharks. Okay, if you're going to enter the boardroom, somebody's going to open the door for you, and the person that opens the door for you is the person that likes you. Is the person that, if you're going to win that contract, most times it is not about how well prepared your documents are, because the document you have, XYZ has it, right? You don't have a monopoly of good documentations. Okay, so most times what gives you that contract, what gives you that big break is emotional intelligence. How you make people feel around you. How you make people feel around you. As little or as intangible as that might sound, but most times that is the icebreaker. And of course, that has to do with emotional intelligence. Okay, so emotional intelligence reduces stress. Okay, so high IQ people know how to reduce stress, and they know how to prevent burnouts. People with high emotional intelligence, they know how to reduce stress, and they know how to prevent burnout. How is that? Now, there was a time I was working with this company in Lagos, and I had this colleague. He also doubles as a friend, as a very close friend. So we worked in the same office, and then he's also my colleague, and then my very good friend. And he was the IT guy at that time. So most times I usually have this idea. It's just like I'm this idea guy that wants to do this, do this, do this. So most times I go to him and I tell him, bro, can you help me research this, do this, do this, do this, do this? And most times, some of the things I ask him are very difficult, complex things. But because I'm just the guy that has the idea, for me, I might think it's just, because it's an idea, it can be done. But the technicality involved in doing those things are very, very strenuous. So, but then somehow he finds a way to do it. And then one day we were headed home, and then he turns to me and asks me, said, every time you come to my decks and you ask me for this, do you know the strain I go through to get you all this? And then I was like, whoa, that's true. But you always come through. He said, yes. Say, I always come through because you're my friend. And because of the excitement I see in your face whenever I give you such solutions. And then I was like, wow, I never knew that just the expression in my face can be enough motivation for someone to go through a 4 hours, 3 hours rigorous research to get me what I need. Just an expression in my face, just like an expression I give out, how excited I am whenever he comes through with the results. I never knew that could be enough motivation for him to go through the length and the breadth to get me what I need. So most times, when you understand how to make people feel, how to trigger the right emotions in people, you can never tell. There is no telling how far they will be willing to go for you. So please, the next slide, please. Let's run along. And please prepare your questions, please. I think I'll just be faster. I'll just be faster with the subsequent slide because of time. I think I have shot so much with this. Okay. Please, the next slide, please. I will just have to be faster with the next slide. All right. So we're going to talk about briefly the 5 components of emotional intelligence according to Daniel Goleman's model. Okay. So the first component we have here is self-awareness, understanding your own emotions, self-awareness. Okay. If you don't understand what makes you feel how you feel, then you'll not be able to control how you feel. Please, I'm going to say it again. If you don't understand what makes you feel how you feel, what makes you feel, most times we pay attention to only how we feel. We don't pay attention to the root cause. Okay, we only think we are happy, but then what really made me happy? We only feel, I am sad, but then what triggered the sadness? So understanding yourself, being self-aware, being self-awakened to what brings you into a particular state, into a particular emotional state, is very important. So you have to understand your own emotions, but then how do you understand your own emotions? By being self-aware, by being self-conscious. Okay. So now the second level is self-regulation, managing your reactions. Okay, I'm sure everyone here at some point in time you have ironed your clothes before, and for several fabrics, several heats, you need several heats to be able to stretch several fabrics. Okay, for lenient fabrics, very soft fabrics, you need mild heat, something very mild. The heat don't have to be very, like very hot, because if it is, you're going to burn and dent your clothes. Okay, why for thicker fabrics, you might need to tune up the heat. Okay, so and for you to do that, every iron usually has this knob, this regulator. Okay, so that is how your emotions are. Okay, your emotions can be regulated, okay, to get the results you need. Your emotions can be regulated. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give this example. Hope we all know that you can use the same word, or you can say the same sentence, exactly the same sentence, to your colleague at the office, and they will smile and they will laugh and they will say you are funny. And then you can tell the same joke, the same exact joke, how you said it, with the same tone to your boss. And that might just be like the last day you'll be in the office. That is if your boss, has the power to sack you. Okay. So it's very important to know that what works for one might not work for another. Okay, what works for one or what works for a particular kind of relationship might not work for the other. Obviously, we all know that how we relate with our colleagues in the office is way different how we should relate to our bosses. Okay, of course, while you can tell your mind to your colleague, sometimes, most times, it is almost impossible for you to tell your boss your mind. And if you're such a person that believes I have to say it the way it is, then you're not emotionally intelligent. So emotional intelligence is knowing how to regulate your emotions, even when you feel like saying a particular thing or doing a particular thing. Okay, now let's just swipe it a little bit to productivity. Growing up, even till now, I'm very competitive. I think it's a that activity. Okay, just add competition to that activity, and then I don't know, like everything in me just stands up. Now, I like competing in a very healthy environment. Okay, so I like healthy competitions because of the excitement that erupts when the competition is over. Okay, yes. So, but then, there are some things that triggers performance. There's some things that triggers performance. And like I said earlier, I used an example. I said I usually go into the future, like I go into the future and I borrow the happiness that I would feel when I have achieved that goal or that task, and I bring it into my present, and then I feel that emotion, and then I use that emotion to do the work I want to do. That is also regulating my emotions also. I'm sure I don't know if we are getting that or if we got that. Okay, so I'll just move to the next one. So the next one is motivation. The next level is motivation. Okay, which is driving yourself towards goals. I just give an example of that. I think I just explained that, so I'm not really going to more of that. I just explained that. Then the fourth level is empathy, understanding others feeling. So I'm just going to give an example here. It's very important if you're going to create, if you are a leader here, if you are a CEO here, a founder or a co-founder here, it's very important you understand the role of empathy in leading your team and in creating a very healthy work environment. And even if you are a team player, it's very important to understand empathy, because empathy is knowing, is understanding the importance of how people feel, regardless of your objective view about a particular thing. I'm going to say it again. Please, if you can write, you should write. Empathy is respecting people's emotions, irrespective of your personal objective stand about an issue or about a matter. Okay? So you might be correct, yes, but if you really want to win with people, if you want to win alone, it's okay. Then you may not necessarily care about how people feel. But if you want to win with people, you must understand that beyond what is true, okay, beyond what is obtainable, beyond the rules, sometimes it is important to understand and to empathize with people, because it can be one of the most heartbreaking things when you are in an environment where your emotions are not valid, even though we're not expected to work with people based on their emotions, okay, especially in a work environment. But then sometimes, to get the best out of people, they need to understand that you feel for them. Okay, yes, that you feel for them. So let's hurriedly go to the last one. Social skills. Social skills is as important as any hard skill. In fact, it's even more important than any hard skill you can ever have. You know, I was watching the biography of Steve Jobs, one of the best examples of emotional intelligence the world has ever seen. And then while he was talking about Apple and how he was able to lead Apple to success, towards success. And then he said something very profound. He said that someone once asked him, say, Steve Jobs, what do you do? You're not the product manager. You're not the project manager. You're not the UI designer. You are not the back-end engineer. You're not the front-end engineer. You're not even the PR. So what do you do? And then Steve Jobs said something. He said that everyone in the team is like members of an orchestra, that he's the choir master, that he just knows how to harmonize everything. He just knows how to bring out the best from everybody. And that is how it is. That is what emotional intelligence is. Knowing how to bring the best from everybody. Okay. For those of you that watch football, last Saturday there was this the Champions League final was played, and a team was trashed 5-0. That has never happened before. But then if you're a football lover or if you watch football, you will understand that no matter how good the striker is, if the defender is not good with defending balls, then the team is going to concede. So people's skills is very important. People's skills is what harmonizes, it's what makes the role of the defender, the striker, the midfielder, the goalkeeper is what brings it into perfect union and produces results. So social skills is very important if you must excel as a team, and if you must excel with a team. Okay, either as a member of a team or either as a person leading a team. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So from this next slide, I'm just going to be running over. I know I said it the other time, but then I think I got caught up with explanations. So I'm just going to rush off. So okay. So self-regulation. Okay. All right. Okay. Self-regulation. How do you regulate your emotions effectively? You stay calm. Okay. You stay calm in the midst of anything that triggers you. You avoid hijacking. Okay. Avoid impulsive actions. Avoid impulsive outbursts. Okay. Use strategies. Breathe. Okay, it's very important. Breathe. Pause. Okay, refrain from your thoughts. Okay, because most times, if you're not careful enough, you might just notice that how you relate to people and not most times doesn't really are not really dependent on what the people do, what people do part time to you. Sometimes it's just like it's hidden traumas. You know, sometimes we just get hijacked by hidden traumas, and then we let out outbursts, you know, but then of course doing that shows that you're not very emotionally intelligent. So to regulate yourself, breathe, pause when you need to, and refrain from executing your thoughts. Those are just thoughts. Okay, so please let's move on to the next slide, please. The next slide, please, so we can be fast about it. Motivation. Okay, sustaining drive and focusing without external validation. Okay, sometimes it can be very difficult when you have to sustain a particular level of drive without any validation from anybody. Okay, so sometimes it's good to learn it. Okay, when you have a boss who doesn't say well done often, it's good to know. It's good to learn how to actually push yourself like that. Okay, now intrinsic versus extrinsic. Okay, understanding internal and external drivers. Like I said before, learning how to tap into your inner inner um inner energy. Okay, now this is not humanism. This is just you understanding yourself, like knowing how to tap into your inner power, like into your inner energy, and using that to work for your favor. Okay, now stay driven, maintain motivation without external praise. Like I think I just said that earlier on, knowing how to maintain your motivation without getting praises from your boss, from your colleagues, or from people with you or beneath you. Okay, now set purpose driven goals. Align your goals with your core values. It's very important. Most times motivation comes with goals. Okay, motivation it comes with goals. Okay, so learn how to set goals, learn how to set those goals around your values also, because when your goals are outside of your values, you struggle to accomplish them, because most times you struggle with yourself, you struggle with your conscience and all that. Okay, so it's very important that your goals align with your values. Okay, let's have the next slide, please. Empathy. Okay, connecting with others through understanding their emotions. Connecting with others through understanding their emotions. Now, let me just say something very, very quickly. I'm sure everyone here comes from a family, and like me, I'm sure you already know that you cannot, like amongst your siblings, not everyone behaves the same way. Even amongst twins, sometimes they might dress the same way, look the same way, wear the same clothes, go to the same school, sleep on the same bed, but most times they have different preferences. Okay, so empathy is knowing how to accommodate the diversities in other people, or knowing how to accommodate the diversities in other cultures. I don't know if you've ever been to another company, and then you're there, and then you're experiencing their work culture, and then sometimes it's almost more often than not you get tempted to like ask yourself, why can't why can't we operate like this, right? Why can't we operate now? That's what you're seeing is 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 um is part of it's part of the offshoots of the emotional intelligence that has been constructed within the people working in that environment. Most times the ambience, the aura around an office or a workplace, most times is not necessarily it's not external. It is the work that has been done internally in the minds of people. So to excel in your workplace, you must first of all understand, what is the culture of where I work? Okay, do we value productivity? Okay, do we value results? Are we result driven? Are we project driven? Are we data driven? Okay, so what really drives us? Because most times, for you to understand for you to understand the psychology that rules a workplace or a work environment, you need to understand what drives that organization. Okay, so I'll just run briefly through this. So understand others' emotions deeply. Yes, understand others' emotions deeply. Good. Practice effective listening techniques. I would often say this. If you want to be good with people, you have to learn how to hear and how to listen at the same time. They sound alike, but they are not the same thing. You have to learn how to listen and how to hear. Okay, because not all words are spoken. Obviously, we know that. Differentiate empathy from sympathy. I think this is a point I may just have to like buttress a little bit. The difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is, I understand how you feel. I can relate because I've been there before. Empathy is sincere. Empathy is like saying that I may not exactly feel what you're feeling right now, but I can relate to what you're feeling right now. Maybe on the premise that I have experienced what you're experiencing before. For example, someone who just lost their loved one, and maybe you have also lost a loved one. You may not know to the degree of pain they are feeling, but of course you can say, okay, because I've lost a loved one before, I think I can say I understand how you feel. But sympathy is like you're trying to you're being sympathetic with the person. It's like you're sorry for the person. Yes, you're sorry for the person. Okay, you're sorry for the person. You're not feeling what the person is feeling. You're sorry for the person. So most times we have to understand what is the difference between these two things. People want your empathy, not your sympathy. As good as your sympathy is, people prefer for you to empathize with them, not to sympathize with them. Please, the next slide. So social skills. Okay, so we are looking at building a strong relationship through effective communication. There's nothing like social skills except there's effective communication. You cannot be very effective while communicating with others when you don't know how to interact with them. Okay, conflict resolution. You must know how to navigate between disagreements and influence positive outcomes. You must know how to navigate between disagreements, how you treat disagreements says a lot. Okay. And for us, for some of us here that lead teams, the idea of a subordinate might not be as intelligent as your idea, because let's say you have more experience, more exposure, more training, but then how you inform them that their idea might not be the best suited, or might not be the best suited solution for this particular project is very important. Okay, there's how you can reject an idea and you shut someone off. Okay, and there's also how you can reject an idea and someone is motivated to bring more ideas. Communication, communicate clearly. Okay, the third one here is communicate clearly. Ensure respectful and effective exchanges. It's very important to respect the people we work with. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Let's go on to the next slide. Let's go on to the next slide, please. So please hope we are still getting our questions. Yes, so we are almost done with, we're almost done. So we're going to be looking at real life application of emotional intelligence at work. Although we have been doing that, all through the course, but then I'm just going to briefly run through it. So emotional intelligence is crucial for navigating the complexities of modern workplace. It impacts how we interact with the people we lead and how we succeed in our roles. Okay, it's very important. If you must navigate all the complexities, if you must navigate the diversities, if you must navigate the intricacies that surrounds modern workplace, then you must understand that emotional intelligence impacts a lot. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Let's move on to the next slide, please, so we can get our questions. All right, so activity. Emotional intelligence in action. Let's look at a very, very practical scenario here. So a colleague criticizes your idea in a meeting. You're having a board meeting or you're having a strategy meeting, and then a colleague criticizes your idea, your suggestion, your inputs. Okay, so how do you respond? Ideally, if you're emotionally intelligent, how you should respond is not to feel defensive, not to feel angry, not to shut down. Okay, but then obviously we know that the natural emotion will be to be defensive, to argue, to want to tell them why you think your idea is the best fit for such project or for such for whatever you're working with the team. Okay, but no, if emotional intelligence preaches the opposite, the very opposite. Okay, now most times I would say this, every time there's a disagreement in idea or in conceptualization, now it's either one or both of these things. Number one is either there is a lack in there's a disparity. There's a disparity in knowledge base between the two persons that have contrasting ideas, especially when the ideas are contrasting, or when the ideas are opposite, or when the ideas are against themselves. Okay, when it's a sharp contrast, it's always because it's either these two persons it's either there's always a knowledge gap. Now the knowledge gap can be from lack of experience or inadequacy in both experiences. Like, there is a long difference between the experiences that these two persons have. Okay, so the second reason also can be lack of or inadequate exposure or lack of exposure on the side of one of the persons. Okay, because you cannot rule out exposure. It's very important. In measuring knowledge base, exposure is important. Expertise is good, but then knowledge also forms part of, how good or how well we are informed about a particular thing. So let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so building your emotional intelligence, what do? You need to ask self-reflection questions. How do you build your emotional intelligence? Practical ways. You need to ask self-reflective questions. There's something I do. There's something I've done for many years. And then I think at this juncture, I'm going to recommend the book here. I'm going to recommend the book by one of my biggest reads, John C. Maxwell. He's the foremost leadership expert. There's a book he wrote that changed my life. The book literally changed my life. That the book is called Thinking for a Change. Thinking for a Change. If you read that book, my God, your emotional intelligence is going to go off the roof. Okay. In that book, he talked about reflective thinking. Okay, where you reflect, or retrospective thinking, where you retrospect, like you go backwards, like you go back to past events, and then you begin to analyze and do a very candid appraisal. Okay, so you have to understand your own emotions and how you react to those emotions. Okay, so it's very important. How do you build emotional intelligence? Engage in reflective thinking. Ask yourself reflective questions. Okay. The second one is practice mindfulness. Stay present. Observe feelings without judgment. Stay present. Okay. Don't be bodily present and mentally absent. Okay. Stay present. Okay. In your environment. Always engage. Observe. Observation is, I don't know, like, that has helped me a lot. I'm a very observant person. With just observation, you can tell where the next problem is going to come from by just observing, either as a team member or as a team lead. By just observing, you can tell where the problem is coming from, or where the next problem is going to come from, or where the next breakthrough idea is going to come from. Trust me. The third one here is read emotional cues. Okay, pay attention to non-verbal communications. Like I said before, listen and hear. Listening and hearing is two different things. When you hear words, you hear sounds. But when you listen, you hear, you deduce and you deduct things that are not said. Okay, so it's very important. Let's move to the next slide. Please. Okay. All right. So yes, the first one is you take emotional intelligent assessment. Okay, and identify strengths and areas of growth. Is very important. Know your strength. There's something I would always say when I train people. I say, for me as a person, one of my key strengths or one of my advantages is that I understand my strength. I know what I am good at. Not just good, I know what I am excellent at. Okay, so I do those things, and then the things I am not good at, I delegate or I learn how to do them. When I learn how to do them, I delegate, then I now supervise when there's need for supervision. Okay, but then I know what I'm very good at. I focus on those things as little as they might be, but these are the things that gives me my biggest returns in reward. So it's very important you do that also. Now let's move to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to be looking at key takeaways. Key takeaways. Someone might be saying, "Are you sure I can actually come into that place where I am in charge of my emotional environment?" Yes. So is emotional intelligence learnable? Yes, it is. It can be developed through conscious practice. It can be developed through conscious practice. For me, I usually say that emotional intelligence is learning yourself. Okay. Sometimes, not sometimes, or everyone here, I'm sure, you may have gone through many courses in school. You went to school, you did a course for 3 months, you were taught a course for 3 months, and then you wrote the course and you got an A in the course. In just 3 months, you were able to understudy a course and you knew the course so well that you got an A. How much more yourself? You have been living with yourself for how many decades? 3 decades, 4 decades, 2.5 decades, however long you've been living with yourself. So you can actually step down, understudy yourself, learn yourself through conscious practice. Okay. Now, there are high. What are the ways? How do we show high emotional intelligence, or how does emotional intelligence increase in the highest possible ways? Okay. One of the ways we identify, or one of the markers of high emotional intelligence is leadership. Most times, the most intelligent people don't make the best leaders. The most intelligent people, okay, the people with the highest IQs, most times don't make the best leaders. And the simple reason is that for you to be a good leader, you must know how to get into the heart of people. An intelligent leader will get into the head of people, but an emotional intelligent leader will get into the heart of people. And when you have the heart of people, then you have the head of people. Because as strong as the head is, it is still the heart that controls the head. The head is used for logic. Okay, I have sat under people who, when they speak, and I'm like, man, this guy is good, this lady is good, right? But when you walk with them up close, like they can be a little bit, I don't want to use the word, shabby or nasty, but then, it's actually, some cases are like that. Some cases are like that. So please, the slide, we have lost the slide here. We have lost the slide here. So we are almost at the tail end of this course. I'm sure that we have been writing down our questions. We have been jotting them down. So for those of us that might want to write down the questions, you could just write it and send it on the chat. Okay, so I would take the ones on the chat before I start taking the ones that will be said verbally, orally. So I would take the ones on the chat before I would take the ones that will be asked verbally. Okay. Yeah. So small daily habits. Consistency boosts emotional intelligence. Okay. Consistency boosts emotional intelligence. For the small daily habit, it's very important that we know that intelligence is not a day. It cannot be achieved in it. It's a long life process, right? I can tell that there are things that I can do while shutting my eyes now that weren't possible for me some years ago. Okay, now for me, I can shut my eyes and I can talk to a total stranger, and I can get the person to tell me. But it took me years of unrelenting pursuit to master the act of talking to people. So it's mastering emotional intelligence is a lifelong thing, but then it's also something that you have to, that can be improved upon. It has stages. So for you to do that, you have to be consistent, okay, in your pursuit of mastery. All right, so let's take the next slide, please. Okay. Let's have the next slide, please. Let's go with the next slides. Okay. So we're going to be looking at the next steps. Okay, the project. We're going to have a project. So you're going to take an emotional intelligence assessment, okay, which is to identify your current emotional intelligence level. We're going to identify it's so you in the class, you're going to identify your current emotional intelligence level. We're going to look at, you're going to look at the greater good, okay, like the greater good science center. Sorry. Okay, yes, we're going to be looking at exploring your we're going to be taking quiz and how to explore our emotional intelligence, okay? And then, of course, we're going to use our results for our personal growth, because it's very important that we understand how this connects to us personally. Now, I'm going to say this in closing. There is no successful organization anywhere. There is no successful company anywhere. It's only successful people working in successful companies. And for you to be a successful person, you must be a master of your emotions, because I have seen the most talented people fail because of emotional outbursts. I have seen people with very good, with no skills at all, with no skill. When I mean, in fact, the best leaders, or the people with the best, or with the biggest companies, the people that lead the biggest companies, funny enough, have little or no technical skills. Okay. if you would believe me, I would confidently say that people's skills sometimes trumps technical skills, because at the end of the day, people want to follow who they are comfortable with. People want to follow people that inspire them. And it takes a man who understands, who has gained mastery with emotional intelligence to lead and to inspire other people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed this class just as I have enjoyed it myself, because emotional intelligence is one of my favorite topics. It's one of the things I like talking about. When I train people, whether in corporate settings, in religious settings, or in casual or social gatherings, we can understand how powerful our emotions are. Then we can better put it to use. Okay, we can better put it to use. So now I'm going to be taking questions. Yeah. Yes. Like I said, if you have any question now, you can write it. You can either write here, you can either write and send it as a chat, or you could just unmute your mic. So but maybe before the questions, okay, should we take questions before contribution? Because obviously I want some persons to just, maybe if you have a contribution, something you want to add, something question, but something you just want to buttress. Maybe I touched an area that you really wanted, that really got to you, and you just want to add to what I said. You can do that. Okay. All right. So we have just sent the link to the emotional intelligence quiz. The link to the emotional intelligence quiz. Please do well to, after now, to click that and take the quiz. Very important, because it's a way of understanding yourself. Most times we don't know ourselves as much as we think we do. Okay, and this quiz will actually give you an insight, an in-depth insight into you and how you communicate within yourself. So while IQ is how you relate with information, quiz is going to show you, is going to open up a lot of things, and a lot of areas, that you are not very, very conscious of. So yes, so while we're waiting for the written questions, because I can't find any yet. So let's take the oral questions, the verbal questions. So you can unmute your mic if you want to ask your questions. And yes, okay, yes, Onyi is raising her hand. I want to believe it's a lady.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm a child educator, so I've worked at so many schools. Now, this is my question. There are schools you work with, or I've worked with, that are highly disciplined. Now, when I leave those schools, I go to a school and I see this indiscipline amongst staff, amongst fellow teachers. Now, as someone coming from a disciplined school, I find it very difficult to blend with their culture, with their work culture, with their attitude to work. And when you start displaying discipline as a teacher, they see you as, who is this person? She's trying to show off. You come to school early, you do task early, you submit your lesson plan early, but to them, each time they call my name, like I'm submitting tasks early, they'll be like, who is this one? This one I just come in and she's want to show off. And before you know it, I'm like an enemy to all of them, because they feel that the leader is always giving me tasks to do. The leader is always giving me something to do and leaving them aside because they hardly complete tasks because of their lackadaisical attitude. So to me, the place became very toxic for me. I'm trying to know, how am I going to work in this kind of environment? How do I blend? How do I interact with these people? How do I make them understand that this is academic ethics? This is what should be done. How do I involve the HR? Maybe they could give these teachers training. But to them, personal development is not even something they want to welcome. So it's something that have been giving me a lot of thoughts. So I don't know how to relate with them because most things they do, because if somebody meeting is by 7 o'clock and someone is coming by, let's say, 20 minutes past 7. Like they are bigger than the
Okay.
owner of the school. It's worrisome. It's
Okay.
worrisome. Coming from a discipline school, how do I actually interact with those people?
Okay. That's a very, very um important question. That is a very intelligent question. That is a very, very important observation. So the first thing, I'm going to give three answers to that. And then the first answer is my favorite, actually. The first answer is my favorite. Now, my first answer is introduce this course to them. Ask them to come to Island Africa and take some of the courses we have, because I'm sure we have a lot of courses here that deals with work ethics. Yes, because that is what they lack, actually. They lack work ethics, yes, and they also lack self-leadership. So the first is for them to come to Island Africa and take some of the courses we have. That's number one. Then number two, um, it's very important that uh, beyond, like most times I've noticed, like I said, I have sat in the recruiting panel before, a lot of team, like recruiting panels, and then we're recruiting people and people come. Most times people are all about the jobs. They just want to get the jobs. So, but then most times it's not all about the jobs too, because it's also knowing the culture of the company you want to work for, or the company you are coming to work for. Okay. And for such organizations with such cultures, because the thing is, most times culture, that something is an organizational culture doesn't necessarily mean that it must be good. Culture is culture. You don't necessarily need to have intentional have healthy organizational cultures. It does not know what to do, or lack leadership to bring people to get to conform to what they think should be. So you come in there and you setting the precedents, because it's like it's alien. Then we're looking for a fight. The lack is leadership, bring where suggest It's also something you need to do while you're applying